What's up, everyone? Welcome to the second episode of the Keto Series, where I'm going to be covering the keto diet with as much detail as possible. So, if you're thinking about doing keto, you're already doing keto, or you've been doing keto for quite some time now, this series is meant for you to make sure that you get to your goal, to your fat loss goal, to your weight loss goal as quickly and as efficiently as possible, and to make sure that you have a good understanding of keto, but more importantly, how keto works for you and how it works for your body. If you haven't checked out episode 1, I highly recommend that you do. How to mentally prepare and what to expect on keto. I'm going to leave the link in the description below, so make sure that you go check it out, as there's a lot of valuable information. Whether you're a beginner or you've been doing it for a while, you're going to find a lot of useful information there on how the ketogenic diet works and what you can expect during your journey. So like I said, I'm going to leave the link in the description below, so make sure you check it out when you get a chance. Today's episode, episode 2, titled, grocery shopping, food, and how to prepare your meal. Or your meals. So we're gonna go ahead and start out with the grocery shopping. And I wanted to do something a little bit different for you guys. I can understand how the keto diet can be a little bit overwhelming. Even if you've been doing it for a while, it can still be a little bit confusing. With all the information that's out there, with all the theories that are out there, all the different ways to do keto, I wanted to break down the grocery list into 8 separate categories to make it a little bit easy on you. Now, before I get into the 8 categories, I do want to make sure that you know this. Don't feel obligated to buy every single item from every single category. Okay? One thing that I'm going to do in the video as well is I'm going to be showing you the foods that I have for that particular category, just so that you can see how, I break down my meals and how I use some of those, main items from those categories. So I don't want to overwhelm you, and I don't want you to think you have to get everything. As I mentioned in the previous episode, you have to make the commitment to stick with keto for at least 6 weeks. So I know that eventually all of the items that I'm going to be talking about, and even later on when I do like my day 1, day 2, day 3 of sample keto meal plans, you're going to see different foods. So I don't want you to be too overwhelmed by all the foods in the categories. Just pick up the ones that works best for you, depending on your budget, depending on what sounds good to you. So I just want to give you that heads up so you don't feel obligated to get every single thing. Okay, so the 8 categories for your grocery list are going to go as following. So first, we're going to start with pure fats. And the reason we're starting with pure fats is keto is 70% minimum fat. So we got to make sure that we have that covered first. So I also want you to see the hierarchy with a little bit of an undertone. So as I'm going through the list of the categories, I do want you to see a little bit of a hierarchy undertone, okay? So, nonetheless, we're going to start with pure fats, then vegetables, then fish, then meats, proteins. Even though fish and proteins, fish is a protein, I wanted to separate fish and then other types of proteins. So I want to leave fish as its own category. The second one is going to be secondary fats or diluted fats, which I'll get to. I'll explain what that means here in a second. And then we're going to have secondary proteins. Then we're going to have dairy. And then the final one, we're going to be doing accessories. And again, I'll explain what those titles mean once I get to that category. So let's get right to it, and let's go ahead and start out with the pure fats. Your focus should be on fats, which is why we're going to be starting with the pure fat sources. And to make it very simple, very straightforward, I'm going to give you 3 fat sources: oils, butter, and egg yolk. Just like that. Now, starting with the oils, there are 4 specific oils that I'm going to recommend above any other oils. And those are going to be MCT oil, avocado oil, coconut oil, and extra virgin olive oil. Those 4 particular oils are going to be very beneficial for the keto diet, especially MCT oil. If I had to pick one oil that you're going to do while you're doing keto, while you're doing, from the time that you started all the way till you end it, MCT oil. MCT oil has a special, let's call it a special property. When you consume it, when you digest it, it goes straight to the liver to be converted into ketones. So it's one of those shortcuts that could help you get into ketosis a lot quicker. And when you're already in keto, make sure that your ketones are high and that you're burning fat at a faster rate. So MCT oil is great not only for that, but it's also a great appetite suppressant. And one of the things that you'll see at the end of the video is how you can put all of these fats and all the categories together. One of the recommendations that I make is that you have MCT as your very first meal, MCT oil as part of your first meal. So MCT oil doesn't have a very high cooking point, but the best way that you can have MCT oil is with some coffee in the morning. So you can have what's known as a bulletproof coffee, and that's something that, like I said, I'll talk at the end of the video, and I'm also going to be showing you during my keto sample meal plans later in later episodes. But next to MCT oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, and extra virgin olive oil. So those have different properties. Extra virgin olive oil, you want to use that more as a dressing. Avocado oil, you definitely want to cook with that. And coconut oil, same thing, you can cook with that. If your budget allows you, yes, try to get 2, 3, if possible, all of those, because you want to stick to those 4. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, if you can only do 1 or 2, MCT oil, then pick, one of the other 3. When it comes to like canola, vegetable, corn oil, I wouldn't really recommend those because they can be a little more processed and they can be a little bit harder for your body to break down, especially when you're trying to enter keto or you're in the middle of doing keto. So again, I understand, sometimes budget gets in the way, and those are fine. They're still within the keto, parameters, but if you can, try to stick to, one of the 4 oils that I mentioned. Now going, next to the next fat source, butter. So butter, obviously, it's a pure fat source. There's no carbs, there's no protein, it's just pure fat. Now, you can get regular butter, you can get ghee. My recommendation is try to get the I can't believe it's not butter or vegan butter, and here's why. If you get ghee, which a fantastic source of fat, by the way, if you get ghee or regular butter compared to the I can't believe it's not butter or the vegan butter, you're gonna have more flexibility with the vegan or the I can't believe it's not butter, because per tablespoon there's less fat, there's less calories with I can't believe it's not butter or the vegan butter, so you can actually manipulate that a little bit more. Whereas regular butter or ghee, you're looking at about 14-15 grams of fat, 120 calories per 1 tablespoon. With the other 2, you're looking at about 45 calories, 4 or 5 grams of fat. So you can manipulate it a little bit better. Whereas with the other 2, you're more likely to go over your calories, okay? So that's my recommendation, butter or ghee. Both of those are gonna work, but preferably my recommendation is make sure that you do I can't believe it's not butter or vegan butter. Final fat source, egg yolks. So like I said at the beginning of the video, there's gonna be some that are gonna be there's gonna be some items that are gonna be crossing with each other, and eggs could have as easily been on the protein, but notice how I'm separating egg yolk from the full egg. And the egg yolk, or the yolk is part of the egg, it's just pure fat, and it's a good source of fat. So even doing egg yolk omelet is a fantastic way to get your fats up. So like I said, the main point of keto is to make sure that you get your fats up. And if you're just doing, like a 4 whole egg omelet, yeah, you're gonna get plenty of fats, you're gonna get some protein in there. But if you're concerned about getting your fats up, instead of doing 4 whole eggs, what you want to do is maybe do 2 whole eggs and then 2 egg yolks, or 2 whole eggs, 3, 4 egg yolks to get your fats up. So, and then even cook with MCT oil. It's a fantastic way to get your fats up and make sure that your ratios are up. So again, I'm gonna be covering eggs in the protein section or in the protein section, but the egg yolk itself fits in perfectly with the pure fat. So yeah, those are gonna be your 3 fats that you want to focus on. So here you guys can see all of my fat sources, and starting out with the I can't believe it's not butter, regular butter as a backup, my eggs, of course. I think I go through like a dozen eggs every like 2 or 3 days, just because I use the egg yolk so much. The MCT oil, it's right here. I have the avocado oil, and then one of my favorite ones, which is here, let me adjust the camera. So this right here is unrefined virgin coconut oil. And the reason why I like this one so much, it's because it has a very it really does taste like coconut. So when you're doing something like fat bombs, or you're trying to make like a dessert, it really gives you that coconut flavor. Now, one thing I do want to show you guys real quick, like I was saying, a few minutes ago, is I want you to notice the difference between the I can't believe it's not butter. Here, let me adjust this again. The calories. There we go. So this one per tablespoon, if you pay attention to the serving size, per tablespoon, this one's going to be 60 calories, 6 grams of fat. So it's going to be 6 grams of fat, 60 calories per tablespoon, compared to regular butter, which is going to be, where are you? This one's going to be 100 calories compared to the 60. So even the I can't believe it's not butter, it's still not as low as I'd want it to be, because I have seen butters, like the vegan butters, that are 45 calories per tablespoon. But like I said, the reason why I prefer the I can't believe it's not butter or the vegan butter over regular butter, it's because I can manipulate it a little bit more. So if I want to make a bulletproof coffee, I know that 1 tablespoon is going to have way less than regular. And the reason I keep the regular one is just as a backup. But like I said, my suggestion is make sure that you get a butter that's a little bit lower in calories. That way you can manipulate it a little bit better. When it comes to vegetables, you're going to separate them into 3 categories, okay? So leafy greens or leafy vegetables. Second category is going to be whole greens. And then third category is going to be colorful vegetables. So starting out with the leafy greens or leafy vegetables, you're gonna do about 2 to 4 cups of those a day. And that could come in the form of a salad. You could throw your spinach maybe with your omelet, or you could throw extra lettuce, extra kale on your keto taco salad. But you want to have about 2 to 4 cups of those a day. And the reason for that is leafy green vegetables or leafy vegetables are going to be very low in calories. And like I said, they're going to help you stay full, and they're going to help you with fiber. So with those types of vegetables, so again, category leafy or leafy green vegetables, you can do minimum 2 cups up to 4 cups, okay? Now, for whole greens, you can do 1 to 2 cups a day. So what is an example of a whole green? So whole greens are green vegetables that are not leafy. So for example, we got broccoli, we got asparagus, we got cucumber, we got green bell peppers, we got Brussels sprouts, tomatillos. Anything that's whole and green, you want to limit that to no more than 2 cups a day. Because now as we're getting out of the the leafy category, and we got these vegetables that are whole, we got a little bit more carbs. Not a lot to kick out of keto, but if you're doing 8-9 cups of broccoli a day, then for one, that could be bad for your digestive system. You might feel bloated. But if you keep adding up those vegetables, and eventually you might get close to that threshold, that 20 to 25 grams of carb that that you want to stay under for the day. So whole greens, you want to do 1 to 2 cups a day. And before I get to the colorful vegetables, follow this as a reference, not as a definitive guide. So if one day you happen to do a little bit extra green chili, which falls into the like the whole green, it's fine. If one day you only do 1 cup of leafy greens, it's fine. It's more about the principle. So like I said, try not to overthink it. It's just so you keep that in the back of your head, like, okay, when you go grocery shopping, you want to prioritize leafy greens, and then the whole greens, and then finally the colorful vegetables. And these are tomatoes, onions, carrots, squash, bell peppers, anything that's colorful, any colorful vegetables, you want to stick to half a cup to 1 cup a day. So essentially, those are going to be serving you more than anything as condiment. So maybe some pico de gallo, maybe some fried tomatoes with your meal. Because if you, let's say that you wanted to do, you love onions and you do 3 whole onions a day, you're not paying attention to that, they can kick you out of keto eventually. So anything that's not leafy or green, that's another way to put it, you are only going to do half a cup to 1 cup a day. And I still want you to do them. I don't want you to, in a way, demonize those vegetables, just because I'm saying you want to have less, you still want to have them. But those are the ones you're going to be doing a little bit less of. Now, now that we have that guide, there are some vegetables that you definitely want to avoid, and those are going to be olives, corn, beets, and jicama. So those 4 vegetables, if you look at those vegetables, they're probably going to fall more into the category of the colorful vegetables. Again, don't look at this as a definitive guide or more as a reference. So yes, I did say that you want to avoid those, but let's say that you're making a taco salad and you put 2 tablespoons of corn, that's fine. I guess what I'm saying is you don't want to have like 3 corns in a cob and say it's a vegetable, and you're having it with butter and cheese, keto friendly ingredients, and then you accidentally kick yourself out of keto because of the corn. So you want to avoid those 4 vegetables as much as you can. If you happen to have a little bit, you'll be okay. And yes, potatoes are a vegetable, so I didn't include them in here because technically, even though they are a vegetable, they are more of a carb because they're very carby. So you want to completely avoid potatoes. So, and then sometimes I do get asked, are beans a vegetable? No, they're not a vegetable, but you still want to avoid them. And before we move on to the next category, fruits. Why did I not include fruits? Well, fruits can be very high in sugar, which technically are carbs, and that can kick you out of keto. Now, if you're just first starting keto, don't focus or don't worry about fruits for the moment. Yes, you can do some fruits as you can do some fruits while you're doing keto, but as you're getting into keto, as you're getting the hang of it, try not to focus so much on, well, what fruits can I have or can I not have? If you've already been doing keto, raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, you could do up to half a cup a day to get that sweet craving out of the way, especially with raspberries. If you're just starting keto, like I said, don't focus too much on that right now. That's something that you can add eventually, and I'm going to have that in the sample meal plans that I'm going to be doing in the future. But yeah, the reason why I completely omitted fruits from the plan is because if you're not careful, it can kick you out of keto. So for now, just focus on getting the vegetables and getting the following items as well. So here I have the veggies that I'm going to be using for the week. And going off the guide that I mentioned earlier, the 2 to 4 cups of leafy greens or leafy vegetables, and then the 1 to 2 cups of whole greens, and then half cup to 1 cup of colorful vegetables. Notice the hierarchy here. So starting out with the leafy greens, for the whole week I have this whole, garden salad mix. I have some baby spinach, and I also have a whole lettuce that I like to use for, like naked burgers or tacos, using the lettuce as the shell, or just, threading it with the salad as well. And then, the next one, the whole greens, for the week I'm going to be using a bell pepper, some green beans, and then a cucumber. And for the colorful vegetables, again, notice how it goes from more to medium and less. So for the colorful vegetables this week, I'm going to be playing with some tomato, some onion, and then a little bit of carrots. So again, a little bit of carrots isn't going to hurt you. And just as a personal preference, I actually pretty much always just keep onions and tomatoes as like one of my main colorful vegetables. Sometimes I'll change it up, and I'll throw in like like squash or eggplant or something like that. But I prefer to use these ones right here. Once in a while I'll use carrots, a little bit of corn. But again, just notice and pay attention to the how I'm setting up the vegetables when it comes to how much I'm going to be using of each one. So again, leafy greens are going to be the top one. Whole greens are going to be your medium use, which is 1 to 2 cups a day, and then the colorful ones, which half a cup to 1 cup should be used more for flavor, for extra seasoning, which is what I used, which is why I like to use a onion pretty much every day. I like to use maybe a 1/3 cup of an onion every day. Just fry it up and then throw it in with whatever meats or proteins I'm having for the day. So moving on to the next category, fish. So technically you can do pretty much any fish unless it's breaded. So going to Long John Silver's and getting a breaded fish does not count. So technically any fish is good on keto. However, there are some fish that are leaner than others. So what I mean by leaner is they're going to be way high in protein and very low in fat. Now, those types of fish are very good for when you're not doing keto and you want to make sure that you stay full, you're trying to lose weight, off of keto, of course, but again, that's a topic for another time. So yeah, any fish is going to be fine. So if you happen to get some of the leaner fish, for example, tilapia, cod, halibut, shrimp, those types of fish, yes, you can have them on keto, but you're going to have to add your outside source of fat, which if you go back to the a couple minutes ago, you got your oils, your butter, so you can add those things to the leaner fish. So for example, if you're doing a keto shrimp stir fry, just make sure you add the butter in there. Otherwise, you're just gonna have shrimp with vegetables. So you want to make sure you add the fat to those leaner pieces of fish. And it's as simple as you just Googling. So if you're unsure of what a fish, what the nutritional content is, just Google it. But the top fish that I'm going to recommend that are already fatty, that already come with enough fat, that are going to have the almost a 70% ratio, are going to be the following: salmon, sardines, mackerel, oysters, and herring. Those are the top 5 fishes that you want to do on your keto diet. And it doesn't matter, as far as those 5 goes, there's no hierarchy. Just make sure that you pick at least 3 if possible, and have them twice or 3 times a week, for dinner or lunch.
Okay, so here you guys can see my fish sources that I'm going to be using for the rest of the week. And salmon, I'm a huge fan of salmon. This one already comes with pesto butter, so not only is this one great because salmon is already fatty enough, but it's already putting in a little bit of pesto, just adding some more flavor, and it has the butter as well, so just making it extra fatty. So, and then the herring right here, and then I got some sardines as well.
Alright, so now we're moving on to fatty proteins part 1. And for part 1, you're only going to be focusing on 3 items: red meat, poultry, and pork. Okay? With pork, I do want to skip a little bit ahead. This one is going to be one of those items that is going to cross between areas or between sections, because pork, depending on the cut, it can be, or not so much the cut, but it can be a more processed part of the pork or the pig. So with pork, keep in mind that one's going to be for both. But if you're getting like tenderloins or pork chops, those are going to be more within this category now, within the part 1. The processed ones, which I'm going to get to in a minute, you'll see which ones I'm talking about. Nonetheless, going back to to this section, so we have red meat, poultry, and pork. So with the red meat, make sure that you're getting the fatty, the fatty red meat and not the lean stuff. Of course, it's a lot easier to shop for things that are a little bit fattier, because to get the lean stuff, you actually have to go out of your way and look for it and read the labels. But you still want to make sure that you're not getting, for example, like a 90-10 ground beef, or you want to get the 80-20, or if you're getting stew meat, you're getting the regular stew meat, not the lean stew meat, because like I said, you want to get the fats. And there's nothing wrong with getting the leaner parts if you prefer that, if it's more of a tasting for you. But you do have to make sure that you add the pure fat sources, like add an extra tablespoon of avocado oil or butter. So, but just to make it easy on you, just get the fatty, the fattier cuts. And then the same thing goes with the chicken. With the chicken, you definitely want to try to avoid chicken breast or tenderloins. You want to make sure that you're getting the thighs, the drums, the wings, because those are going to have the skin and they're going to have the fat in it. So yeah, with all poultry, just avoid getting the lean stuff, because again, the point of keto is you want to get your fats up. So don't make the mistake of getting the lean proteins and then forgetting to add the fats in it. So just to make it easy on you, just get the proteins, again, hence the name of the section. Make sure that the proteins that you're getting are fatty, and make sure that they have that, read the label, or visually look for the marble around.
Alright, so right here I have some of the fatty proteins / fatty meats for that I'm going to be using for the week. And this is one of the many reasons that I personally really love keto. It's like I tell my clients, when it comes to the frozen meat section, pretty much anything that's going to be in the frozen meat section is fair game. But there's a bit of a caveat to that, which is what we're going to be getting to, with the fatty meats, fatty proteins part 2 here in a bit. But essentially, you can pretty much get anything from the frozen meat section as long as it's not breaded. You still always want to double check the label for, carbs or anything like that, but pretty much anything that's just, frozen, any meat is going to be fine on keto. And, for my, weekly selection for this week, you can see what I have is I have a little bit of ground pork that I'm going to be using for some keto meatballs that I'm going to be doing in the air fryer. This one's already fatty enough as it is. This one's actually 85% lean, 15% fat, which is plenty. For this one, I have some milanesa, which is a type of red meat, type of cut. And this one's a little bit on the leaner side too, but it's an easy fix. We just add 1 tablespoon of I can't believe it's not butter, or we just use the avocado oil just to kind of get the fat ratios up. So again, that's not a big deal. And you can see here chicken. I literally have a whole rotisserie chicken just for convenience. It's just easier to get the chicken, especially with keto. You can just get the skin, and it's going to be, it's already going to have the fat because it's going to have pretty much the whole chicken. So you can just, shred it, pick it apart, and then use it however you need to. And then right here I just have some leftover beef that I used last week that I froze, and I'm thawing, which I'm going to use for an Alfredo mix that I'm going to be having later. And then, like I mentioned, there's going to be a lot of, or not a lot, but some of the items are going to be crossing over. And now, including the egg into the fatty meats / fatty proteins, including the whole egg, that's what counts as a fatty protein. However, when it comes to like the more of the pure fat, that's just the yolk. So right now I'm including the egg white, alongside with the yolk. And I did forget to mention, I exaggerated a little bit, even the yolk has a little bit of protein, but when you compare it to how much fat it has, the ratios are significantly higher, which is I think about 80-90% fat, a little bit of protein, just the yolk, which is why I decided to put it in, with the pure fats. Again, it's gonna have a little bit of protein, but mostly fat dominant. Now, when you're doing the whole egg white and yolk, that's gonna be more like 50-50.
So up next we have the diluted fats, which are gonna include nuts, seeds, and avocados. Okay, and the reason why I chose to label these as diluted fats, and don't take that term negatively, is because those particular items, they're not going to be fat entirely like the oils or the butter. They're going to have good amounts of fats and healthy fats that you want to add to your keto diet, especially with the omega-3s, with the omega-6s, polyunsaturated fats, monounsaturated fats. So these are items that you want to include, but you also want to keep in mind that they're going to have a little bit of net carb, not too much to kick you out of keto, but just something to consider. So like for example, if you're doing 2 tablespoons of almonds, that's going to be about 120 calories, and it's going to be about 9 grams of fat, but it's going to have about 4 grams of carb with 2 grams of fiber. So you minus a 2 from the 4, that gives you a total of 2 net carb for the serving. And again, the topic of reading the labels on keto is going to be for another video. But again, I just want you to be conscious that if you're getting like seeds, or for example, if you're getting like chia seeds, you want to just double check the label and make sure that the net carb is no more than 2 or 3 grams per serving. Okay, and as far as nuts go, the top 2 that you want to avoid because they're going to have a higher carb content are going to be pistachios and cashews. If you're doing, macadamia nuts, Brazil nuts, or walnuts, hazelnuts, almonds, all of those are going to be fine. Peanuts too, those are going to be good. But pistachios and cashews, you definitely want to try to avoid since they're going to be higher in carb, and you can't accidentally kick yourself out of keto. Same thing with the seeds. Chia seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, sunflower seeds, pepita seeds are all going to be fine. And again, just like I said, just make sure that you double check the label on those, and when you're buying them, and just check that it has a small amount of net carb, because sometimes to add flavor to something, they might have like a barbecue like smoke flavor to it, and that might ruin the carb content. So just double check for that. So you definitely want to have one of these fats at least once or twice a day. And same thing with the avocado. So the avocado, I didn't want to include it with either fruits or vegetables. I wanted to include it as a diluted fat because on its own, an avocado is mostly fat, but it's still going to have a little bit of net carb in there, but mostly fat. So avocados are great. I would recommend one avocado a day. And before I show you the types of diluted fats that I have at home, I don't want to forget that peanut butters, almond butters, hazelnut butter, all of those things count as well. And just make sure that you're getting the fatty ones. Don't get the reduced fat ones. So along with the nuts, it's butter counterpart as well. You can introduce that in.
Alright, so here you guys can see all of my diluted / secondary fats, which I think I prefer the term secondary fats. I think it just sounds a little bit better instead of saying diluted fats. But nonetheless, so these are my secondary fats that I have for the week. Some of them I've actually had for a little bit longer. For example, like the flax seeds, I absolutely love these. I think I've had them for about 2 or 3 weeks. You can get them at like Sprouts, get like half a pound for like $8 or something like that. So, and then I have my peanut butters. I have just both of them are just regular peanut butter. Normally I also have almond butter, but we're just craving more peanut butter this time. So again, peanut butter, almond butter, both of those are fine. Avocado, and again, this one's just representing probably like 5 more that I have in the fridge. And then we have some almonds in here. And one really cool thing about these is I'm going to show you the nutrition label just so you can see what I was talking about earlier about just double checking the label on these particular items, because these ones are smokehouse flavor, and yeah, they're still good for keto, but anytime that you see something with a flavor twist to it, you always just want to double check the label and make sure that whatever flavor's been added, whatever component's been added, it doesn't temper the carb content. So, and then my walnuts, anytime you get like organic walnuts or just raw almonds, they're gonna be fine. I was gonna say for the most part they'll be fine, but they'll be fine. So in this case, yeah, we'll check the label, but because they are pure raw walnuts, you don't really have to check, the label if you don't really want to, but it's just more for flavor things. And one thing I forgot to mention, previously is, things like almond milk or coconut milk. So those things are great too on keto. Just make sure that you get the unsweetened stuff, because, if you ever want to be making like a coffee or you're making something sweeter or you want some dessert, this is going to come in handy. So yeah, this should have been in there. I just forgot to mention it. So in my case right now I have unsweetened almond milk, but you can also do unsweetened coconut milk. So yeah, like I said, let me just show you real quick the nutrition label on these almonds right here. Let me just make sure we get we correct this, we get a nice view. So again, yeah, right here you're going to see that per 1 ounce, which is about 28-30 almonds, you're looking at about 2 grams of net carb. So 5 grams minus the 3 from the fiber, that gives you 2 grams of net carb. Plenty of fat, which is perfect. Now, if these would have been, let's say, like chocolate covered almonds or barbecue flavored, there's a chance this might have been a higher number, and that's where you really want to like consider, like, do I want to take my chances? It will sound like kind of dramatic, but do I want to take them and kind of like play with the carbs that I have for that? So yeah, just always double check that. Like I said, if it's like anywhere between 1 to 4 grams per serving, you'll be fine. And then yeah, with the walnuts, we'll just check, just for the hell of it. These ones you could see, 2 grams of net carb per quarter cup, which is fantastic. And we have the 21 grams of fat. So yeah, all of these are great sources of fat. But like I said, you still want to double check the label. And yeah, unless you're getting like the pure raw form of it, you more than likely you're gonna be fine.
Right. So now we're gonna be talking about one of my personal favorites, which is dairy. And dairy, for the most part, is okay on keto. The biggest exception being cow milk. So with cow milk, regardless if it's 2%, if it's skim milk, 4%, you want to avoid cow milk, because cow milk is going to have sugar, regardless of which type of cow milk you get. So that is the biggest one that you want to avoid on keto. If you want an alternative, for example, let's say that you want to do some type of like keto hot chocolate, or you're doing some type of dessert, there's the alternatives like I showed you a couple of seconds ago. We have we can use the almond milk, we can use the unsweetened coconut milk. So there's going to be alternatives, but for the most part, you want to completely avoid cow milk on keto, because that could really kick you out, and it's going to have a lot of sugar per serving. Okay, now with keto, pretty much all cheeses are gonna be game too. So with the only two that I could think of as being somewhat of an exception are gonna be curded cheeses. So examples of that would include cottage cheese and ricotta cheese. Now, not to say that they're not, you can't use them on keto, but this is where we can optimize a particular meal plan by just simply looking at a label. So I could tell you, like, if you want to do like a keto lasagna, like once you're into keto and you're getting the hang of things and you want to, kind of like diversify a little bit more, you want to do a keto lasagna, there's going to be ricotta cheeses that are going to be 4 grams of net carb per quarter cup, and then there's going to be those that are going to be 2 grams per quarter cup. So that's where you want to do your due diligence and not just pick out the first one you see. So same thing with the cottage cheese. You want to make sure that you're looking for the ones that have the least amount of carb per serving, because it can make a difference. So yes, those are keto friendly. They're gonna have a little bit of sugar because they're gonna have a little bit of that whey, and they have to put in a little bit of sugar during the process. So, but there are those that are gonna have less sugar / net carbs per serving. So make sure you double check that. So, but yeah, anyways, with all the cheeses, pretty much all cheeses are fair game. So like Colby, cheddar, mozzarella, Gouda, feta, all of those are gonna be fine. And kind of like a rule of thumb is, like, if it can melt within like 5 or 10 seconds of being in the microwave, chances are it's fine, right? So, and yeah, I know like some of the cheeses like feta, they don't really fall into that category, but pretty much all cheese is fair game, with the exception of curded ricotta and cottage cheese being like the 2 exceptions. So just double check those. They're keto friendly, but you just want to double check those. Creams are gonna be, I think that's one of my personal favorite reasons why I love dairy so much on keto, is because you can do things like cream cheese, you can do sour cream, you can do crema, you can do heavy whipping cream. There's even, like, for those of you that really like coffee, me being one of them, there's keto friendly creamers out there, and for the most part they're going to be almond creamers, coconut creamers, and you always want to look for the label. And again, probably a big theme here is like checking labels. It's very important on keto, which, like I said earlier, I'm going to make a whole video on that, but nonetheless, creamers are going to be fine. Just make sure that you look for the 0 grams of sugar at the front, or you see like the 1 gram of sugar, and then you want to just do your due diligence and check in the back, make sure that it's like per 2 tablespoons. Creamers usually come in 2 tablespoon servings, so make sure that it says 1 gram of carb per 2 tablespoons, and then it's 5 grams of fat, or whatever it is. So so creams are going to be pretty much all fair game, except for ice cream, of course. So yeah, ice cream you want to avoid on keto. However, thanks to the food technology of nowadays, just like with the milk, you can find its counterpart. So there are keto-friendly ice creams out there, and that's something that I do maybe once or twice a week. And I'll be putting a picture of which like the ones that I recommend here. But yeah, no, like the ice creams, like from like a ice cream parlor, you want to avoid those. You want to make sure that you buy one from the grocery store that says that is keto friendly. But yeah, as far as dairy goes, yeah, pretty much everything is fair game. You just want to watch out for making sure that you're checking labels with ricotta, cottage cheese. All creams are going to be fair game pretty much, except for ice cream, and you want to avoid milk completely.
My dairy stack, and I will admit that I'm just noticing right now that I probably have a little bit more dairy than what I would like to, but hey, that's what makes keto extremely fun, is you get to have these really tasty, delicious things. But again, I will remind you that there's a bit of a hierarchy with how we're going down the categories. Dairy placing 5th or 6th, or wherever we're at right now. So again, dairies, they're very important for flavor, but they're not as essential as like the top 3. Like your fish, your pure fats, your vegetables. So again, the dairy, like I said, I do have a little bit more than what I would want to, and I do use it sparingly. Throughout the day, I'm not like just full on just doing creamy stir fries and cheeses or cheese casseroles by themselves. I try to put them with other stuff, which like I said, I'm gonna be doing a couple of sample meal plan days, which I'm really excited to do actually, because looking at one of my dairy items, for example, I have mozzarella, and mozzarella is very essential to do things like keto pizza or like keto biscuits. So one of the reasons I have this big bag of mozzarella is, before you judge me, is I actually use it a lot for baking purposes or keto baking purposes, like the 90-second biscuit or the keto pizza. Other items that I love, like is cream cheese. I use that a lot for like desserts, for like, flavorful stuff. Cross item, the butter, which of course goes into the pure fats, but also fits into the dairy. A little bit of Parmesan, a lot of Parmesan actually. Some sour cream, some Alfredo. And one thing that I want to show you is here. Let me fix the camera real quick. Is with the Alfredo, you want to be careful with which type of Alfredo you pick, because there are some Alfredos that, if you look at the carb content here, some of them are going to have like 6 or 7 grams per, a quarter cup. So you want to make sure that you are paying attention to the carb content, because some of them are going to be a little bit higher in carb. This one is the lowest I could find at the store. High in fat, 209 grams of fat, a little bit of protein. But yeah, with that you want to be careful, because there's going to be some Alfredo sauces that are going to be a little bit higher in carb, and that could potentially sabotage you. Gotta fix this thing again. There we go. And then we have a little bit of extra sharp cheddar cheese, which use a lot for omelets or keto quesadillas, which, like I said again, I'm really excited to actually. I've been thinking about how I'm gonna set up the sample meal plan days, and I'm very excited because I have a lot of really exciting stuff to show you guys. And the last dairy item, which is actually probably my favorite one next to the cream cheese, is crema. So it's essentially, I call it Mexican sour cream, which it's essentially that's what it is. It's thinner than sour cream, and you could use it for all kinds of things. If you're doing like a Chipotle imitation bowl, you could put that on top, or if you're doing like a creamy cheesy casserole bowl or something like that, this goes really good with that. And again, just to give you a little bit of like just so you can kind of like start getting used to reading labels, which I plan on doing a whole episode on reading labels for keto. You can see here, see if we can get the focus right. This one's gonna be, I don't know if you can really see that, but it's going to be mostly fat, just 1 gram of carb per serving. So again, a little bit of carbs here and there is fine. It's completely impossible to avoid carbs, but again, you want to minimize them as much as possible. And this one has a very low amount of carb. It's mostly fat. And same thing with the sour cream, cream cheese. I think you're looking at about 1 gram per tablespoon. So if you're doing 4 or 5 tablespoons, that's 5 grams. As long as everything else is on point, you'll be okay. So again, that's my dairy stack for the week.
Now we're moving on to fatty proteins part 2, which could have also been named processed fatty proteins as opposed to fatty proteins part 2. And with the processed proteins, these ones are mostly going to be derived from either pork or pig. Okay. And before I tell you which one specifically, you definitely want to do these no more than once a day, okay? Because just kind of like with the dairy, if you're doing too many of the processed fatty proteins, you're going to be eating too much trans fat. And trans fat is a type of fat that has been modified by men. And with trans fats, your body actually takes way longer to digest it, to break it down, to convert it into energy. Sometimes it takes up to weeks for your body to break down trans fats. They can stay in your system and they can be stored as body fat. So you want to avoid the following processed proteins, okay? And you want to do it no more than once a day, because you still want to do them, because otherwise you're taking the fun out of the keto part, So, examples of these processed, meats include things like salami, pepperoni, prosciutto, bacon, unfortunately, sausages, just those types of meat that are not like from the source, like red meat or chicken, or like a tenderloin pork, just kind of like the like we talked about earlier. They're gonna be highly processed, so you want to make sure that you're doing them as a rule of thumb. Again, like I said, with the vegetables, take this as a reference and not as a definitive guide. Because, like, for example, let's say that one day you want to do a keto pizza, which is something I'm going to be showing you in one of my sample meal plans, is you're going to need a little extra pepperoni, bacon, Canadian ham or bacon, I don't know what that is, prosciutto, sausages. You're going to overdo it on that one, so then just to make up for the next couple of days, don't do them. Or if in the morning you do 2 strips of bacon, later at night you do another 2, it's fine. What matters is that you're not, snacking on pepperoni and cream cheese all day, because that's a big mistake that I see is because these meats are very delicious, because they're so processed, they're gonna taste a lot better. You don't want to be doing them all the time. Yeah, you want to do them once in a while to get that craving out of the way with your pizza, maybe with a casserole, but don't be snacking on pepperoni or salami or ham or bacon throughout the day, because that could cause a stall, and that could be either from inflammation because you're doing too many unhealthy unprocessed fats, or it could just be that you're overdoing the calories, because it's easier to overdo the calories with those. So again, you still want to have them, but you don't want to overdo it with these ones especially.
Alright, so here you guys can see my processed proteins, and as you guys can tell, this one's being frozen. This one, the what are these, like bratwurst, cheddar? What are this? Cheddar bratwurst, pepperoni. I don't really use them that much because, like I said, you're doing keto to see results, right? But like I said, you also want to have a little bit of fun with keto. But it is more important to get the results, right? So these ones just serve me as, like I said, like that extra taste, once in a while, once a day. Personally, for me, bacon is something that I have almost every single day, and because I have bacon every day, I monitor these ones a little bit more carefully. So, like for example, as you can tell, the Italian sausage, I meant to do a keto lasagna a while back, but it's just been frozen. I just forgot about it. The cheddars, I usually mix them up with the bacon and have eggs, but I usually do like half of it. Like the bratwurst, the pepperoni, this is from a keto pizza that I did a while back, and I haven't used it ever since. And then a big one actually on the keto community is pork rinds. And pork rinds are a great crunchy snack for when you're craving something crunchy and you want that substitute for like tortillas or tortilla chips, they're great for that as well. And with pork rinds, there's like buffalo flavored, barbecue flavored, not necessarily they have barbecue in it, but they just have like that like penetrated flavor, like that smoky barbecue flavor, which it's a great choice. And same thing with pork rinds, they can serve you as a substitute for breadcrumbs. So with all the keto recipes that are out there, literally you could just go to Google and type how to make breaded keto shrimp. First thing I promise it's going to be, make sure you get pork rinds, crush them. So I just wanted to show you guys, like I said, my processed meats, and especially since my dairy is a little bit higher, I'm kind of happy to see that I'm not doing so bad on the processed proteins. Like I said, just being completely transparent with you, I do bacon almost every day with my eggs. Sometimes I'll add something else like sausage, but like the other processed meats, I definitely try to avoid them and only have them when I need to. Alright guys, so now we have the accessories / extras. And again, because this one is kind of it's a very broad category, it's kind of hard to just kind of pinpoint all the accessories or / extras that you could do on keto. But once you get a feel for what I have here, you'll be able to get a better idea on exactly what counts as an accessory / extra. And the best way to define it is an extra is something that is keto friendly, but it's not necessarily keto. So it's something that you can have on the keto diet, but it's not enhancing the purpose of the diet. So I'll just show you the items, and then you can, like I say, you'll get an idea exactly what I'm talking about. And again, these are mine for the moment. They change. Like for example, last week you would have seen here some keto friendly fat bombs that I found at Albertsons, or what's the name of that ice cream brand? The Enlightened ice cream brand, which is keto friendly, the one that has 1G in front of it. So again, those are things that I don't have right now, but would go into this category. So of course, you see some carb cutter tortillas, which are 4 grams of net carb per tortilla, which are great for when you want a breakfast burrito or a quesadilla. You have that craving. We have some sugar-free jam that you could do as well. Great idea is peanut butter and jelly tortilla, if you have that sweet tooth. Baking powder, which of course is going to be very useful when you do keto pizzas, keto biscuits, etc. Unsweetened chocolate chips. So you want to make sure that you look for the no sugar free. you look for the label and then make sure that everything lines up. Again, this is going to be one of those things that I'm going to be covering more in detail in a separate video, but you get an idea. They're not regular chocolate chips. These are keto-friendly chocolate chips, and the first giveaway is, of course, the no sugar added, but then again, you want to do your due diligence and check the label in the back and make sure that they're keto friendly, that all the net carbs are 1 gram or 2 grams per tablespoon, if not less than that. And I have my artificial sweetener right here, which I do want to point out, I have a really bad one right now. I would recommend to you that you get erythritol or monk fruit as opposed to just kind of like a store brand, but that's what I was able to get at the moment. So that's my artificial sweetener. I use this, the only time I ever use this is with my bulletproof coffee in the morning, just to add a little bit of sweetness to it, and I usually just use 1 or 2 packets. Then of course we have dark chocolate. Dark chocolate is keto friendly, and you want to make sure that you get the dark chocolate, and you're gonna make it sweet, of course. So don't get just regular chocolate. You want to make sure you get dark chocolate. And same thing goes with if you get like chocolate bars, make sure that you get like the 95 or the 100% concentrated dark chocolate. With those, unless you really like bitter stuff, you're probably not going to be able to do anything with them unless you're with a recipe. So if you're doing like a fat bomb, you melt them, or you're doing like chocolate covered strawberries, keto chocolate covered strawberries, and that's when you want to use them. So just kind of giving you the heads up. If you get the 100% and you want to have it as a snack, probably not a good idea. And then I have some keto pancakes, some keto friendly pancakes. This right here is an electrolyte complex, which when you check the label, it's 0 grams of sugar, so you want to make sure you double check for that. So this helps me add flavor to my water and make sure that I have, aside from my potassium and magnesium tablets, I have additional electrolytes going into my body. And 2 items that honestly they should actually be in the vegetable section, which salsa, yeah, like I said, it would actually fit more into the vegetable section, but I forgot to include it. So this counts, if you go back to the vegetable section, this would be part of your half a cup to 1 cup a day. So you could definitely, when I say vegetables, there are a couple of loopholes. Like for example, you can get like homemade salsa, or you can get these types of like green vegetables as well, so they count. So I just wanted to throw them in there because I was looking through the pantry and I forgot to include these. But you could count them as extras as well, or as part of the vegetables, it doesn't matter. And then finally we have dressings. Now ranch, it by itself of course would be a cross item that would go into the dairy, but I wanted to include it in the extras just because not all dressings are dairy, of course. And the 2 that I have right now are Italian seasoning and then ranch. You can also use Caesar, you can also use blue cheese, which is another good one. Vinaigrette is another good one. My biggest tip when it comes to dressings, make sure you always double check the label, or if you're going somewhere like let's say you're going to a restaurant, ask when it comes to dressings, because you don't want to gamble your hard work because they give you some like honey mustard flavor ranch, and then it turns out that it's loaded with sugar. So but for the most part, ranch, Italian vinaigrette, blue cheese, and Caesar are gonna be fine. Like I said, there's plenty of other dressings that are good on keto, and like I said, all it takes is a simple Google search. Just type, nutrition facts for, balsamic vinaigrette, and it'll tell you, and then you'll be able to know. But yeah, these are the 2 that I'm using, that I combine with my vegetables, with the leafy vegetables especially. And for accessories, that is it. That is all that I have at the moment.
Alright, so let's put it all together now so you can customize it to your preference, okay? This is going to be a very simple plug-in system of where we're going to be putting the categories into the meal plan, so that you don't have to worry about counting calories, so that I can make it easy for you. Now, if you're somebody that does like to have the data, you do want to have the macro breakdown, the fats, all of that stuff, I will provide that at the very end of each sample meal plan. That way you can have that as well. If you're, like I said, if you're somebody that would prefer to have the calories in there, the fats, just so that they know that they're doing good, just so that they have that assurance, I will provide that, okay? But this is just to make it easy for anybody that's watching, okay? And I'm gonna be doing 2 sample meal plans, so that way we can have a little bit of diversity. And by the way, this reminds me, make sure that you subscribe to my channel, because in the next coming days I'm going to be uploading sample meal plans, not just in a whiteboard, but I'm going to be doing meal plans that follow, so like a full day of eating that follow this particular structure, so you can see how I apply it to my daily routine, to my daily keto routine. Okay, so again, don't forget that. Make sure you subscribe so you can see the upcoming episodes, because the Keto Series is going to be going for I've made the outline, so I'm thinking about 11-12 episodes. I really want to make sure that I cover keto with as much detail as possible. My goal is to make this the best keto series that it's been put out there, so please make sure to subscribe, show me some support. But nonetheless, so what I decided that I wanted to do for this particular meal plans is to make the process easier to understand and easier for you to follow along. I'm going to create two scenarios, okay? One is going to be with a female and one is going to be with a male. And here's how we're going to do it. So, where's the marker? There we go. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be creating a scenario where we have two individuals where they have a weight loss goal, one male and one female, so that we can have something to base this off of. I don't want to just be throwing and plugging things in here and having it not make any sense or any purpose, I guess. So let's start with our fictional scenario. So we're going to start out with a male, and he's 170 pounds, and with a female, and she is 180 pounds. Okay? Now, the reason why I'm doing a 10-pound discrepancy or a 10-pound difference is because men do tend to burn fat at a faster rate than women, and that's just a fact. Okay, there are many metabolic factors that go into this, so I figured that a 10-pound discrepancy between the two would be a good way for us to plug in the same numbers and have the same outcome. Okay, so 10 pounds. A male that's a little bit smaller is going to require, a little bit more calories as opposed to a female who weighs a little bit more. So she is going to need a little bit more of a calorie deficit as opposed to this guy right here. But nonetheless, so it's just going to be easier that way you can follow along whether you're male or female. Okay. So now let's create a goal for this, scenario. So let's say 30 to 40 pounds. All right. And let's say 4 to 6 months, okay? That would be about an average of 2 to 2.5 pounds weekly of fat. Not weight, well, weight in the form of fat, but not just weight, but fat loss, okay? So 2 to 2.5 pounds weekly of fat, okay? Now, let's give them their activity levels. Let's say that they both have sedentary jobs, desk jobs. They don't do a lot of activity except in the mornings. Their only exercise is going for a brisk walk or taking their dogs on a 10-15 minute walk. So that's going to be their level of activity, okay? And to create a deficit for both of these two, they're going to be about 1,400 to 1,500 calories, about 120 grams of fat. And again, if you just want to see the plug-in and see how it works, don't worry about this. This is more for the people that are worried about the macros. But 120 grams of fat, about 60 grams of protein, and 5 grams or less of carb. And that right there is going to fall within the keto parameters. So now we're looking at 70% of those calories coming from fat, 20 to 25% of them coming from protein, and 5% or less coming from carbs. And most of those carbs, or the carb calories, are going to be coming in from vegetables, okay? Now, if you're wondering why I didn't put an age, and I just thought about this actually, I'm going to let you decide on that, and here's why. I have worked with females as old as 76, 77 years old, and males as young as 16, 15, and the person who gets to lose the weight the fastest and at a better rate, or get to see the best results, is a person with the best attitude. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy and a little cliche, but it's very true. Age, in my book, is not a determining factor. Yes, there are certain variables that could play into that, but age is not a limiting factor. So you can plug in that number right there. To me, it is irrelevant, because honestly, it all comes down to attitude and how bad you want it. Okay, how bad you want to get to your goal. So age doesn't matter. So we're going to be plugging in the categories and creating the customized keto meal plan. Okay, and hopefully this makes a little bit of sense as to why I did a little bit of that difference between the male and the female. You know, everybody's different. Everybody loses weight at different rates. You know, our metabolisms, they're not the same. No metabolism is the same. But for the most part, men are going to lose weight and body fat a lot faster than women are. So if I would have made this male 180 pounds, or they both would have been the same weight, it doesn't matter the weight, chances are that the guy would have lost weight at a faster rate, even with the same data. So that's why I decided to create a little bit of a smaller deficit between the male and the calories. That way it could be a little bit of a fair game, okay? And one thing that I'm going to be doing at the very end of each sample meal plan is I'm going to be showing you how you can modify it to your weight and to your goal. And it's going to be very simple. It's not going to be complicated at all. So I don't want you to be intimidated by it. So again, if your numbers don't fall into, this or they're a little bit far apart, again, we're just going to do a little bit of basic math at the end, and I'm going to show you how you can make it easy for you. And it's going to be very, very simple, even if you don't want to count calories. And like I said, if you do want to count calories, I'll create those macros, and then I'll tell you how to modify it with macros and calories, okay? So, nonetheless, moving on, let's go ahead and go look at these numbers right here, because I want to explain to you what they mean, okay? So, the last 45 minutes of the video, I explained to you the hierarchy of the keto meal plan. And I have it just as I presented it, which is fats, vegetables, fish, fatty proteins, secondary fats, dairy, processed proteins, and then your extras or your accessories, okay? And we're going to be following this protocol right here. The number right here is going to be the amount of servings that we're going to be plugging into the meal plan, okay? And again, this is based on this particular data, and like I said, I will tell you how to modify it based on your needs later on once we do that, okay? So for this one, we're going to be plugging in 5 servings of fat, 6 servings of veggies, 4 servings of a combination of fish or fatty proteins or both, 2 servings of secondary fats, 2 servings of dairy, 1 serving of processed proteins, and then 1 serving of the extras, okay? And I'm going to be putting a chart, here, let me move right here. I'm going to be putting a chart right here of what these servings look like. But I'm also going to, verbally tell you what they are, but I'm just going to have that visual, so if you want to pause the video, then you can have it. So for when you later convert these numbers into your own meal plan, you can have it, okay? So again, I'm going to put it up right here. And again, so for the fats, since the fats are either mostly oils or butter or egg yolk, for the oils and the butter, 1 serving is going to equal to 1 tablespoon. And it could be 1 tablespoon of butter, it could be 1 tablespoon of oil, and for the yolks, it's going to be 2 yolks and an egg is going to equal 1 serving, okay? So those are going to be the servings again, and again, I'm going to have it right here so you can have that visual. For veggies, it's pretty self-explanatory, 6 cups of vegetables, as simple as that. But following the protocol from earlier, 3 to 4 cups are going to be leafy greens, 1 or 2 cups is going to be whole greens, and half a cup is going to be your condiments, which is your onions, tomatoes, jalapenos, etc. Okay? Now, fish and proteins, that's going to be 4 servings. But 1 serving is going to equal 2 ounces. Okay? So for this particular person right here, she's going to get 8 ounces of fatty proteins or fish for her meal plan. So again, 1 serving is going to be 2 ounces. Okay? 2 servings of the secondary fats, 2 servings of dairy, 1 serving of processed proteins, and let me back up actually. So the secondary fats, since they're either going to be coming in nuts, butters, seeds, or avocados, 1 serving is going to be 1 tablespoon. It's as simple as that. With the avocado, it's going to be different. One serving is going to be half avocado. So if you want to use your secondary fats, and you fall into, let's say, this particular data right here, that would be 1 whole avocado for the day for the secondary fats, okay? Or you could do 1 tablespoon of flax seeds, 1 tablespoon of nuts, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, and then half avocado, okay? For the dairy, very basic too. Whatever you choose to do, whether you're doing sour cream, cheese, it's gonna be coming in a 1/3 cup serving. So a 1/3 cup of shredded cheese, of sour cream is gonna count as 1 serving, okay? If you also want to convert it into ounces, so let's say that you're doing like a block of cheese, that would be 2 ounces, okay? So 2 ounces of cheese is going to equal to 1 serving. The processed proteins, very basic, 2 ounces is going to be 1 serving. So if we're using, like, for example, bacon, 2 to 3 strips is about 1 serving, so it's going to be your max for the day. And for the extras, this one, we're going to have a little bit of flexibility on that one. We want to try to stick to the 1, but if we use a little bit extra, not a problem, because maybe for one of the meals we want to use a carb chopper, then later we have a snack with, I don't know, like a low carb yogurt, and we want to throw some chocolate chips. It's totally okay. But like I said, this is not a definitive guide. It's more of a reference. So if you're doing it too often, remember what I said earlier. You don't want to be the person that's doing Atkins bars and keto friendly this and keto friendly that, because that's not the point of keto. Those are items to help you get the craving out, but they're not to help you see quicker results, okay? So, alright, so now that we have the, let's call them the point system right here, or the serving amount, let's start plugging them into the plan, okay? You guys notice that the angle keeps like cutting in and out. That's because my memory card only has like 12-minute limit, so I'm really trying to stick with it. So for next video, I'm gonna make sure that I get a memory card so there's no like interrupted cuts, okay? But hopefully my editing skills are not that bad, so it's not that noticeable. Nonetheless, you're here for this, and so am I, which is, this is one of the reasons I really love nutrition, and I really love creating customized meal plans for clients, because this is where, I mean, you can do so many things with this. This is what makes nutrition fun, and this is what makes, I don't like to use the word diet, but it makes dieting fun, because there's so much diversity out there. And sometimes people can just be very close-minded and just kind of like how we joke around that, oh, you know, you go with chicken and broccoli and rice, or like that's not the only thing you can eat if you're dieting. There's like a whole bunch of like things that you can have, not just the one item, but nonetheless. So okay, let's start with the fats, all right? So we have 5 servings of fat, and let's just do a basic plug. Why don't we do 2 servings of fat here, 2 servings of fat here, and then 2 servings of fat here, or 1, I'm sorry. So terrible at math, as you can tell. So there we go, 2, and then 2 again, all right? So thinking that for breakfast, we can actually do a very high fat meal. And why don't we do a bulletproof coffee for meal 1? So again, we're gonna use 2 servings of fat. So the coffee, of course, that doesn't count. And then we add 1 tablespoon of, do you guys remember what the most important oil was? MCT oil. And then we could either do 2 tablespoons of MCT oil, but if you're like me, you want to do your breakfast a little bit creamier, I'm going to go with the butter. But again, you could do the 2 tablespoons of MCT oil. Well, let's go ahead and go with the 1 tablespoon of butter or ghee. Okay. And I'm going to be doing, like I said, a second meal plan where for breakfast or meal 1, I'm going to give you something that's more edible. This is just an example for somebody like me that's kind of like lazy in the morning and you just want to do something quick while at the same time doing something extremely effective, which is this. And like I said earlier in the video, you kind of want to have MCT oil as one of your first meals during the day, okay? But nonetheless, so that brings the fats, which actually we're at 0 fats now because we already distributed them. So I'm thinking we should add something else to that meal, just to make it a little bit more complete. So let's start out with 1 teaspoon of erythritol, which is an artificial sweetener. And I'm not going to count that as part of the extra because it's just 1 teaspoon and it's just to give it the flavor to the coffee. And then same thing with the almond milk. I think we should add maybe like a 1/4 cup of unsweetened almond milk, which would be part of the secondary fats. but because it's such a small amount and we're doing it for the flavor, we're not really going to include it. But yeah, so we'll just add the unsweetened almond milk. Okay. Now, what I'm thinking about adding is a secondary fat. Okay, and that's going to bring it down to 1. And what I'm actually thinking is maybe 1 tablespoon of walnuts, almonds, hazelnuts, macadamia nuts, whatever you want to do, just for that little bit of crunch. Or if you're drinking this on your way to work, you can have that as a snack. Okay, so 1 tablespoon of walnuts. Okay, so I'm thinking we'll leave that as meal 1, just the way that it is. And again, when I break down the macros, for those of you that care to know, this is going to be extremely high in fat. We're looking at about 350 calories max, with a total of about 40 grams of fat. So great way to start the day, especially on keto. Like I said, when I do the next meal plan, I'll do something a little bit more edible. Okay, so meal 2, let's start using either the fish or the protein. So we got 8 ounces, and then we could do 4 ounces here, 4 ounces here. So let's do 4 ounces of fatty protein. And if you go back to the video, if you remember what I said earlier, the fatty protein can be red meat, it could be chicken, it could be steak, red meat, it could be pork, it could be any of those choices. Okay, so essentially red meat, poultry, or pork, you can put it in here. So for the sake of this example, let's just say ground beef. So the 85-15 ground beef, which is one of the fatty ones. And then let's customize it. Let's make it a little bit tasty. Let's do, well, we have to do the vegetables. So let's use 3 servings of that. Okay. So I'm starting to feel like a taco salad right here. So we use 3. So then that gives us 3 cups of veggies, and those are going to be the leafy greens, lettuce, kale, cabbage, that sort of thing. What else should we add? So we've used some of the proteins. I say we throw some dairy in there. Okay. So then it's going to leave us with 1 dairy left. So let's use a 1/3 cup of shredded cheese. And you know what? Let's use both of the dairy here, because I'm starting to feel like a Chipotle imitation bowl right here. So that cancels out the dairy, so let's add 1 more. Let's do a 1/3 cup of crema or sour cream. Alright? What else could we add in here? I'm thinking that we could do, forgot to change this one to 2 since we used half. I'm thinking here that we could use another cup of veggies. Just like tomatoes, onions, jalapenos, green chili, whatever you want to throw in there. Another cup of veggies. And I'm also thinking about doing a secondary fat. So again, this is just me customizing the meal plan. You could save those for later, okay? You could save them for before. It really is up to you. So my secondary fat, I think avocado would be extremely delicious with this right now. So boom, we just created a Chipotle imitation bowl, or like a taco salad, because this could very easily be the 4 ounces of fatty protein. Could be carnitas, could be chicken, it could be shredded pork, just carnitas. It could be shredded red beef meat. So we can play with this as much as we can. And we got the vegetables. So again, there's your salad, the cheese, the crema, the half avocado is about 4 tablespoons of guacamole. So just think about the possibilities on that one. And I'm also thinking, if we're using, of course, the 85-15 ground beef, this can also be a naked burger. So the veggies can be your lettuce, for which we use a wrap. And here's another cool thing. We can take away the processed protein and use 2 strips of bacon and have a tasty guacamole or avocado bacon cheeseburger. If you know what I mean. That sounds extremely good. Meal 3, let's look at what we have left. Okay, so we have 2 cups of vegetables, 4 ounces of fish or fatty protein, and 1 extra. But I want to save the extra for a snack, and I'm going to show you something that I'm actually currently doing, because all of this right here, once we finish with meal 3, that's going to give us about 1,200 calories. So we have about 200 calories to spare. Okay, and for those of you that are really like concerned about the calories, again, I keep talking about the calories. I triple tested this particular system right here. I did my due diligence to the point where no matter how you plug these in, you're gonna stay within this calorie number. Okay, so even if you choose to do like the higher calorie fats, you choose to do like the fattier proteins, like let's say prime rib, it's still gonna fall within those calories. And yeah, it may be off by maybe like 20 calories, 30 calories, a couple of grams of fat, but plugging this in also has like a perfect calorie synchronicity, which is why, like I said, you don't have to worry about counting calories if you don't want to. But nonetheless, so yeah, that gives us 2 servings of veggies, 2 servings of fish, and then 1 extra. So very easy. Oh, we got the 1 fat. Let's not forget about that. So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking about doing fish. So I'm thinking about doing 4 ounces of butter, garlic, salmon. Sounds really good, actually. And then you can also customize it a little bit more and add like black pepper, salt, of course. If you remember the first video, you want to make sure you have your salt, your magnesium, potassium. And then, so butter, garlic, salmon, and then yeah, we could add some other condiments just to add more flavor to it. But we already got this out of the way. The butter, of course, is going to come with the 1 fat, so there's your 1 serving, 1 tablespoon of butter. And we got veggies left. So I'm thinking we could do like 2 cups of, what do you guys think? Broccoli? Green beans, asparagus. You don't spell broccoli with 2 L's. You should know better. So broccoli. So butter, garlic, salmon with 2 cups of broccoli. Boom, there's dinner. Okay? Now for a snack. So like I said, this is going to be about 1,200 calories. We want to get to about 1,400. Here's a snack that we're going to do, and we're not going to do any of the things that I showed you previously. I'm going to show you something else, and here's what we're going to be doing for a snack. Any Atkins treat, and I specifically chose chocolate coconut bar, which is about 170 calories, 12 grams of fat, 2 grams of net carb, and 4 grams of protein. So this fits in perfectly here. So this is so this right here is gonna be my 1 extra, okay? All right, and another cool thing that you can do is, like, for example, if you don't wanna do the extra later that night, you can use that point and add it to maybe 2 ounces of fish, or you could do an extra quarter or an extra 1/3 cup of shredded cheese. So you can do these things as well. So even with that, with crossing categories and the amount of tickets, you're still gonna stay within your calories and macros. So, like I said, let's say that you don't want to do your 2 dairy, you only use 1. You have an extra point, so you can do for later that meal. Maybe you could do like 2 ounces of chicken or more bacon, that sort of thing. Okay, so that's your sample meal 1, and here's how you're gonna modify it based on your needs. Okay. Here's how you're going to modify it based on your needs and your weight and your goal, okay? So using the base as a reference, okay? For every 10 pounds higher than this base that you weigh, if you weigh more than this, for every 10 pounds that you weigh more, you are going to add 1 more serving to your plan, okay? You are going to add 1 more serving to your plan, okay? And that could be in fats. Veggies don't really count because veggies are just, like I said, they're helping you stay full, they're helping you with fiber, with the vitamins, minerals, so veggies don't really count. So take the veggies out, any of the servings from here, okay? Now, keep in mind the hierarchy of things. So if you're gonna add 1 more, try to obviously give more priority to the ones higher up as opposed to the ones going higher down, okay? But like I said, reference, not a definitive guide, so just keep that in mind. So let's say that you are a male and you weigh 250 pounds, which is 80 pounds higher. That gives you 8 extra servings from the meal plan. So what would that look like, for example? So for the 280 pound, for the 250 pound guy who's who's going to be 80 pounds higher, 8 servings higher. So let's use those. So remember that we said 2 ounces equals 1 serving. So why don't we use 2 here? Make this into 8 ounces. That's 6. Let's add 1 extra tablespoon of walnuts. So that puts us at 5. Let's do the salmon. We could do 6 ounces. So then that's only going to take out 1. So that gives us 4. He's going to make his taco salad or his imitation bowl a little bit bigger. So then we could use 1 cup instead of a 1/3 cup. So that puts us down to 2. So, whoa, what do we want to use there? Maybe a little bit more bacon. Let's make this kind of like a baconator burger. 4 strips of bacon, that puts you at 1. And why don't we do an extra 2 tablespoons instead of 1 of the butter here. So it's a little bit more buttery with the garlic, okay? So, same thing, if you're a female, starting from 180, for every 10 pounds that you weigh more, you're gonna get an extra serving onto the plan. And for those of you that are going to be asking for the macros, that's going to be an additional 100 calories and an additional 10 or 11 grams of fat. Pretty basic, pretty straightforward, okay? And again, I'll be putting that here at the end so you can pause and check out the macros and how they're set up. But if you're looking at the macros again, if you are a 200-pound male, that's 30 extra pounds, so it's going to be 300 extra calories, because remember 10 pounds equals 100 calories. So it's going to be 300 extra calories, about 30 grams of additional fat. But if you just follow the plug-in, it's going to come out to almost that, okay? Now if you weigh less, it's going to be the same principle. You're going to be taking away 1 serving for every 10 pounds that you weigh less. So if we have a female weighing 150, that's going to be -3, right? That we're going to be taking away. So let's try to keep the fat sitting there as much as possible. The veggies we don't really have to touch them. Oops, so I modified this. So we were at 1 tablespoon, we were at 4, we were at 4, and then we were just at regular tablespoons. We didn't have the baconator burger for sure, and we only had a 1/3 cup of shredded cheese as the base. Just make sure everything's good. Yep. Yeah, perfect. Alright, so now we're going to be taking away 3 points because 30 pounds less. So let's take away, maybe this person doesn't like their coffee buttery. So we're going to take away the 1 tablespoon of butter or ghee. Okay, so that puts us at 2. They want to take away, they don't like, let's say, the processed meats. So then that's going to put us at -1. And then we could take away 1 of the fats here. So then they're just using 1 tablespoon of avocado oil to cook their salad meats, essentially. So hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, I wanted to make it straightforward. So if we're using this as reference, I think this is about 21 points, and I'll put it there, I'll do the math later. So essentially you're just taking away some servings and some points, and you can obviously use them. Or even for this person, we could have just taken away the snack, since it was almost, the snack is almost 100 calories, we could have taken the snack plus something else. So going, which is in the extras. So again, it just depends on what you want to take away. But you want to prioritize, of course, your fats, fish, fatty protein, secondary fats, and then from there, this is where you want to take most of your points, essentially, okay? So, and if you don't like counting calories, or even with the plug-in just seems too complicated for you. The coolest thing about keto is that, again, calories matter, but it's easier to not count calories on keto, be full, and still lose weight. So if this seems complicated, now that you at least know, hey, well, these are the things that I need to prioritize, let me try it, but I don't want to be counting, then use the scale and your intuition as reference, okay? So if you notice that, or even if you're plugging things in, if you notice that you're losing weight too aggressively, for example, you're losing 4 pounds where you should be losing, 2 to 3 pounds a week, or you should be losing 1 pound, and it's too aggressive, chances are you're probably losing more water weight, more protein, along with the fat. So you want to up your calories. If you notice that you're losing weight at a very slow rate, then cut your calories and your servings a little bit more. Okay, because eventually that's where I'd like for you to be at. I'd like for you to be at a point where you don't have to take out the app and count your calories. I want you to learn that intuitive eating where, okay, I'm full, and then you're checking the scale every week, every 2 weeks, and then you know that your body is staying where it should be. But here, of course, we want it to be dropping. So yeah, I wanted to, at that point, if you don't want to be plugging things in, but you still want to use this principle, just be intuitive, be in touch with your body, in the sense that, okay, if you notice that you're not eating enough and you're losing weight too aggressively, then you gotta try to make the effort to eat more. If you notice that you're losing weight too slowly, then maybe it's time to cut some calories, cut some of the servings. Which brings me to the next point, which is how many meals do you need on keto? And I only have the 3 meals here because that's like the westernized, I guess, like norm, where we have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then a snack in there. But the cool thing about keto is, it's one thing I tell my clients is, I feel like that's the one diet where you can, you could do the intermittent fasting, skip meals, and it's gonna benefit you more. Because with other diets, it's easier to get the extra protein to make sure that you're not breaking down muscle, etc. You have enough energy throughout the day. It's harder to be fasting, but with keto, if you want to reduce your meal frequency, so instead of doing 3 meals, you want to do 2 meals, you want to do 1 meal and a snack, 2 meals and a snack, by all means, you're going to see results a lot faster, okay? And, in a healthy way. So where I say, you can lose 2 to 2.5 pounds of fat weekly, you're going to be tapping into 2.5, almost 3, okay? So if you prefer to do 1 meal or 2 meals, I highly recommend it. Do that instead. You don't have to do the 3 meals just because I wrote it down. You can always compress them, so add the calories from here and here, but what you're going to find is it's going to be a lot of food. Okay, so maybe instead of doing 1,400 calories, you're going to be doing 11 or 1,000 calories. Okay, so that's something that I highly recommend. And once you've been doing keto for a while, and I can tell you this personally, I always get this feedback, probably after week 3, 4, you are going to, the natural urge to want to eat less is going to be there. You're just going to be like, I just need 1 meal and I'm okay. I need 2 meals and I'm okay. So be prepared for that, because it's actually really cool. It's really time saving. So, but yeah, nonetheless, the 3 meals that I have are just so that we can make it easy, but you can compress them. You can plug in the things in 1 meal if you wanted to, or 2 meals and a snack. So it doesn't have to be a norm for 3 meals, okay? So we've just about reached the end of the video. So like I promised, we're gonna be doing a second sample meal plan, just so that we have a little bit more variety. And if you've been following along since minute 1, just wanna say thank you, and hopefully you found this helpful. And like I said, make sure that you show me some support, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications, like the video, because I am going to be uploading more videos here in the next couple of weeks, and my goal here is to make a big keto series where we cover as much as we can, but more importantly, so you can customize it and make it work for you, okay? So, alright, let's go ahead and do the final sample meal plan. And I am going to make a little confession. With the last meal plan I did, of course, thought ahead, how I was going to, plug it in and how it was going to fit in, just so they could look a little bit more organized. What I decided to do for the second one, I said, okay, well, all the numbers, once we plug them in, or all the serving sizes, once we plug them in, they fall into this category. The plan is almost flawless in the sense that you're not going to go over or too under. I said, you know what, let's just go ahead and go with the flow with that one, and just do it out of improv and see what comes up. So, alright, so let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so let's do this. Let's use some fats on meal 1. So let's use 3, okay? And what I was thinking immediately was, okay, so we want to do something we want to eat. I was thinking we could do 2 yolks and 1 whole egg, which equals 1 serving of fat, so that we have 2F here. And then we could do thinking about doing an omelet. What do you guys think? Let's do an omelet. So let's use the processed proteins. Let's use 2 strips of bacon. Vegetables. Just 1 cup of spinach. And you know what? 1 cup of pico de gallo. Plus 1 of pico. Okay. So I got 2 fats left. So the egg is gonna come out pretty good because it's gonna have bacon grease. So I'm thinking for the fat, we add more egg. What do you guys think? Let's add 1 more, or another serving, I should say. So it doubles it, and that'd be a big omelet. So 1 fat left. We use 1 cup, or not 1 cup. Wow, can you imagine? 1 tablespoon of butter. So that takes care of the fats for this one. So you got 4 yolks, 2 whole eggs, 2 strips of bacon, 1 cup of spinach. Kind of a meat lover, so let's do 2 ounces of protein. So let's do some like shredded beef in that omelet. Let's do 2 ounces. Oh, that sounds so good, shredded beef. I'm not too familiar with omelets, but I think that's like a Colorado omelet almost, I think. And then we gotta have some cheese in there, right? So make the omelet, boom, 1/3 cup of cheese. Just picture that. Cheesy omelet with some bacon, butter, a cup of spinach, some vegetables fried in there with a little bit more tasty because it's gonna be yolky. Perfect. So there we go. That's meal 1. All right, let's do. Okay, dairy still have 1. Or yeah, dairy still have 1. It's the processed proteins that I use. Okay, so let's use some of the veggies in meal 2. Let's make a salad. Let's do 3 cups of leafy. Oops. Let's use. Oof, the fats have already. I use a lot of them on breakfast, which is fine. Okay, so let's use fats. 1 tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. Alright, so now we gotta add some flavor to the salad. So now let's do. Thinking about doing here is making like a Cobb salad. So let's use proteins. Let's use 1 boiled egg. We can use. We could use some crunch in here. So let's use secondary fats. So let's use 1 tablespoon of walnuts or flax seeds, whatever you prefer. So I'm kind of just making up a salad right now as I'm going along, to be honest with you. Like something that sounds really good. I'm thinking about doing. You know what I'm going to use for the extras? Actually, yeah, for the extras. Even though we're doing processed proteins, I'm going to use 1 cup of pork rinds. Just have a little bit of crunch. And like I said, once in a while, if you follow this as a reference and you go off the drawing lines, it's okay. So the reason why I was thinking about doing that is I was thinking about adding ranch, but I already have the extra virgin olive oil, so never mind. Actually, never mind. Let's not do that. So let's just do. I think that salad we can actually cap the dairy and use a little bit more dairy in here. Yeah, we actually don't have dairy here, so 1/3 cup of cheese. Some feta cheese. Okay? A cup of feta cheese, okay? So that's gonna be our salad for meal 2. Meal 3, what do we got? We got fatty protein, so we got 4 ounces, veggies, fats, and secondary fats. Perfect. So why don't we do secondary fats? We could use avocado, we could use fatty proteins, 4 ounces. We could use veggies. I'm thinking that we could do some type of like stir fry. I'm thinking we could do a steak and shrimp stir fry. So then we're gonna use 4 ounces of steak and shrimps. So it could be a combination of steak or shrimp. And then we got some fats left, so we can definitely cook that in some. Let's use the I can't believe it's not butter, because if you remember earlier, here's where we could use a little bit of cheating essentially. We can use the I can't believe it's not butter. You can use 2 tablespoons instead of 1 because the calories are much lower. So a little bit of cheating, 2 tablespoons of the I can't believe it's not. I can't believe it's not butter. It's harder than it looks. Can't believe it's not butter. And then for the vegetables, we got about a cup left. So I'm thinking we could do like a green bean stir fry would be pretty good. So we could use a 1 cup of green beans to 2 if we need to. Green beans. And we have one point to use, which is secondary fats. And I'm thinking we could save that for a snack, okay? So the secondary fats, I have an idea of what we're gonna do with the snack, okay? So we got the 4 ounces of steak or shrimp. Shrimp is gonna be on the leaner side, so make sure that you definitely make up with a fatty, steak. But we're using the butter, so we're fine. And then one cup of green beans just to mix it in there. And then you can add your garlic, your black pepper, a little bit of extra salt, of course. If you want to do a little bit of curry, paprika, condiments are good on keto. So we could definitely, or seasonings are really good on keto. So yeah, so then for our snack, what I'm thinking is how about we do a peanut butter and jelly wrap. So then what we would do is we could use one of the extras, which is fine. So we would use 1 carb chopper tortilla, or half, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, and then we do 1 tablespoon of sugar-free jelly, wrap it up, and then there's your sweet snack with, I don't know, if you want to do maybe like 4 ounces of unsweetened almond milk with some erythritol, then you're gonna be fine, okay? So yeah, that's the end of sample meal plan number 2. And like I said, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, because I am going to be doing, the next video is going to be what I eat in a whole day of keto, or a sample meal plan. And I'm going to try to get as creative as possible, just so you guys can get more ideas, and that you can also see how you can easily fit this into that. So I want you to also keep in mind, as I'm doing my sample meal plan, pay attention to how I'm still staying within this hierarchy right here of what's more important, the fats, and then the veggies and the fish and the fatty proteins, etc., etc. So again, make sure that you subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.